Welcome to Minutes with Mango, Life in Motion. I'm your host, Johnny Mango. This is the place where we inquire about lifestyle, culture, and careers. Weekly, we meet with new guests that make a contribution of their insightful stories about their careers and how those careers impact their lifestyle and culture. Hello, everybody. This is Johnny, and welcome to Minutes with Mango. Today we have a very interesting guest who's an award-winning radio journalist, an author of a number of books, has a very interesting story to tell. She's traveled to over 50 countries. She's got a fascination with waterfalls and hiking, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Please welcome Jo Giese. Welcome, Jo. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a writer. I guess there's two things that really define me. One, or maybe more. I'm a writer, and I'm also a real outdoors person, having grown up in Seattle, Washington, on the edge, the shoreline of Lake Washington. There's hardly any better introduction in the world to a better being out in nature and walking. I mean, I started doing that when I was 5 years old. Can I tell you a little story about that?
Absolutely.
So we lived right near Seward Park. Um, and I didn't know it at the time when I'm five. I mean, what do you know? I just knew it was beautiful. And it was about a block and a half from the house. And I would set off by myself in a little pinafore dress my mother had sewn with a little, stick over my shoulder like a hobo with maybe a snack on the end, and would walk over to Seward Park by myself. I'd take a few pumps on the swing, and then I would go up into the most beautiful old growth forest in the middle of that park. And at one time, a retired cop who lived next door to us said to my mom, you might want to reconsider letting her do that by herself. And my mom said she likes it. And so my mother was the original non-helicopter parent.
Tell us about your injury and the challenge you had from hiking and your injury to your Achilles heel.
By that point, my left arm that I put out to brace myself and my left leg have all turned really black from the
Uh,
bruising. And here's someone in front of us who says, he can be helpful. And we had known him. Anyway, he botched the surgery. And the whole area became necrotic. I'm not even sure I knew what the word necrosis meant. It
oh,
means dead, dead. So the wound all died, and then we're not even dealing with the Achilles. We're dealing with the wound, and then several surgeries later, when they go in to reattach the Achilles, it turns out that it has died. Now, ordinarily, if you do not have an Achilles, you cannot walk. That's just it. Actually, I was at a doctor's appointment yesterday, and I asked this. He's an ankle surgeon, this guy, and I said, "Now, I do have it right, correct, that without an Achilles you can't walk, because I am walking." And he said that's right. And he said that I am a real medical outlier, or another way of putting it, a medical miracle. And I guess what interests me more than, giving a, hugely positive label to what I overcame is why does somebody, when they're given a grim diagnosis, succumb to that diagnosis? And why do other people plow in and say, I'm going to overcome this? And that to me is really interesting. Like, people would say to me during the 144 days when I was not walking and having all these 8 surgeries, people would say to me, so I was using a roller scooter to get around. And people would say, so do you consider yourself an ex-walker, an ex-hiker? And I went, no, never. I mean, that's how, I mean, after we finish this interview, just to change my head around a little bit, I'll go out and walk a couple miles just for
yeah.
fun. And I couldn't imagine settling for that ever.
Did you have baric therapy for that necros, that
The
dead skin?
necrosis?
Yeah,
Yeah, you are actually the first person who has ever asked me about that hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
I've done it.
Were you in a total chamber?
Yep. And I did it 30 sessions, and it was a nightmare.
I Are you claustrophobic?
Yes.
Well, then I really feel for you because I am claustrophobic. For our listeners who don't know what we're talking about, the hyperbaric oxygen chamber I chose was at UCLA, and I chose it because it was the largest one I'd heard about. It had 8 seats in it. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I figured that with that much room in it, it would be less claustrophobic. Because I am so claustrophobic. Um, I get nervous in underground garages. I try to avoid elevators.
Yeah.
So the idea that this wound that was not healing, that maybe the hyperbaric oxygen chamber could help. I thought, okay, I don't want anybody to say, well, if only she'd
Yeah.
done the hyperbaric oxygen. But I did it only 5 times, and it didn't seem to be working at all, and was making me too nervous. How did you manage to do it 30 times?
Well, a lot of meds. The chamber I used was a single chamber.
Oh,
So you lay down on a bed. You can elevate your head, but they get they give you a bottle of water and a pitcher to urinate in if you have to go because, it takes so much time to go up and down on the pressure. They just can't open it up and let you out. And, I did, yeah, and it had a plexiglass top so I could watch TV, I could talk to the doctors and stuff, but I didn't do very well in it. I did it. I had head and neck cancer, and I've been treated with a lot of radiation, and I had to have a tooth extracted, and everybody said, "You may have a narcolepsy problem, so let's do the hyperbaric before we pull the tooth," and, that's what I did. It was crazy.
well, let's talk about something more wonderful. How about
Yeah.
you were talking at the very beginning that one of my things that I'm known for and craziest about is hiking to waterfalls.
Yes.
And as I said, when I was a little kid, about 5 years old, I started hiking um, to this forest that was very near our house in Seattle. And about the same time, since we lived in Seattle, my parents took me to Snoqualmie Falls. It's a waterfall just outside of Seattle, and it is glorious. It
I've
is
been there.
really. Oh, have you? No. Okay, well then you know it is. Some of these things that they call waterfalls these days are so skimpy little,
Yeah.
dribbles that they hardly deserve that title. But I just fell in love with the magic of it, standing there and having the mist on your face and just feeling so invigorating. And then recently, as I was writing my current book, You'll Never Walk Alone, that's coming out next spring, I was talking to some scientists a scientist in Bozeman, Montana. And I said, explain to me the scientific benefits of being near a waterfall because it feels so good. And he said, well, he said negative air ions. And I think it's really interesting that the negative air ions are the positive ones, the ones that are good for you. And they're known to be abundant in forests near waterfalls. And the air near a waterfall contains 100,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter. Where in your office and mine right now, maybe we're lucky if we have 100 negative ions per cubic
Really?
centimeter. And so these negative ions just energize us. And as when you walk away from a waterfall, you come away, at least I do, with a little extra bounce in my step. And actually, because of that, the positive benefits of that air there, the way it makes me feel is I could just linger there all day. but but if I've gone with other friends, then usually I have to, at some point go, okay, well, I guess I've gotten enough of this, although I haven't. I think it's also interesting since COVID, hiking and the number of people hiking has increased dramatically. And of course, some of that had to do during COVID. What are you going to do? You're stuck
Right.
inside. You can't be with anybody. But there are still more people out on the trails enjoying them. I think that's just fabulous. I can tell you, maybe one of the most dramatic hiking experiences I ever had, which I would really recommend to everybody if they could ever have the chance, ever get offered to do it. My husband and I were in New Zealand, and my husband was going to go. One of the reasons we were in New Zealand, he likes to fish in Montana, and a lot of his fishing buddies in Montana had gone to New Zealand fishing. And so Ed said, "Oh, I want to do that too." And so they go helicopter fishing. And as one friend said, is that when they dangle the hook from the helicopter and you catch the fish? No, that's not. What it is that's when a helicopter takes, in this case, my husband and his fishing guide out in some remote river where they'll never see anybody else the entire time, and they leave them there to fish by themselves all day. So I said, well, if you can do that with helicopter fishing, what about helicopter hiking?
Oh,
And so they found me a hiking partner, and we went up in this helicopter, a Robbie 44, and they dropped us down literally in the absolute middle of nowhere. And some places in the world where I've hiked, there are bears, and you need to have the bear bell, the bear whistle,
yep.
the bear, all the stuff. Or there's other even stronger things that you have to look out for. But in New Zealand, they don't have those kind of predators. So we're dropped absolutely in the middle of nowhere, really. And the helicopter pilot says he'll be back at 4 o'clock, which was at the end of the day. And so we start off hiking, and we hiked to two different waterfalls. It was experience of a lifetime, just being out there with my guide and myself, and no tourists, a little,
Yeah.
porta
Yeah.
potties, toilets anywhere, no concession stands, just being out in beautiful, beautiful nature, and no snakes in New Zealand. And
Wow.
since we also have a place in Montana, and we did have a bear in our house once, we are particularly attuned to bears. And it's not a fun interaction when
Yeah.
you have a bear in your house. But
I know.
what's really weird, where we live here in Southern California, just a few weeks ago, I was interviewed by CBS News. They just happened to be on our street. I'm out taking my walk, and there was a mountain lion a mile from our house in Southern California, a
Yeah.
mountain lion. Yeah. And I said, well, I know what to do to protect myself from a bear, but a lion? I mean, no, thank you. But the
Yeah.
mountain lion, unfortunately, really harmed an 11-year-old girl.
Really.
And I don't, I mean, she's alive, but I'm sure she wishes she hadn't had that encounter.
You know, I lived many years in northern Arizona, and we raised our kids there. And when my youngest son was in high school, he had a friend stay over one night, and they snuck out and took the tandem kayak out on the lake in the middle of the night, about 2 o'clock in the morning. And they're out there paddling around for a half hour, 45 minutes, and they decided they better head back in. And they had headlamps on, because it was dark. And they, just as they paddled up to the shore, they heard a scream, and they shot their headlights in the direction of the scream. And it was a mom mountain lion with her two kittens, and which was between them and their car. And they immediately paddled back out to the lake and sat out there for about 45 minutes, hoping the mountain lion would go away. And it did, but they never did that again. That was it.
You're going uphill. You don't know what you're going to encounter. And he has encountered face to face a bear before. I've encountered bears, like they'll be on the other side of the trail a little ways away. And I have my bear whistle. The bear whistle is as shrill and strong. It looks dinky. It looks like a little, little
Yeah.
yellow thing, nothing.
Yeah.
And but you can hear it from 3 or 4 blocks away.
Really?
And those bears, the black bears especially, they don't want to have anything to do with us.
Right.
That's why they say keep making noise when you're hiking,
Yeah.
and but the
It's those
whistle
pes
helps too.
it's those pesky grizzly bears that the challenge.
Yeah.
So with your Achilles heel or the lack of it, are you still able to hike extensively, or has it slowed you down?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, according to this doctor that we were seeing yesterday for something totally else, and I said, "Oh, by the way, am I exaggerating when I say um, that this is a medical, or people say about me that this is a medical miracle?" And he said, "No, no, you are a real medical outlier. But the difference is I can walk. The difference is I walk at half the speed that I used to walk at.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And because I can't push off on my left foot.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I worked with this the only reason I'm really walking today is a physical therapist who usually works with spinal cord injury patients, had never worked with anyone without an Achilles, took me on as well, he wanted to see if he could put all of his PhDs in sports medicine uh, into use in my case, because he had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Um, I so I said to Taylor at one point, I said, "Yeah, okay, I am walking again, but I'm walking at half the pace that I used to walk. People just whizzing by me on the street, on the sidewalk, whatever." And he said to me, looking me straight in the face, because he knew we had worked together 2.5 years
Well,
for me to be able to walk again. And he said, "To compare is to despair. Stop it."
oh,
And so I can't, well, I guess I can say I've grown used to walking slower. Mentally, I've adjusted to it. I still like to be. I went on a sunrise hike one morning, and then I realized I'd never been on a sunrise hike. Wow, was that cool? It was about 39 degrees out, and they had warm fire pits around, and I realized that I just couldn't keep up with the group. They were all just racing out on the way to the top of the mountain, and so my hiking has changed. It's slower. I choose less steep places to hike. And I usually hike with one other friend, not with a group, because I can't
right,
hike that fast. But
right.
I want to say something here to your listeners. Sometimes they will read things about hiking alone or taking a walk. Go out, hike alone, take a walk alone. And I would say that is really, really, really stupid advice. When you're hiking on these trails, you don't know what you're going to encounter. And once I was hiking way far up in a mountain in Montana, and there was a much older woman. She had really done something to her ankle. I don't know if she broke it, sprained it. She was miles away from a trailhead. Now, luckily, she was with about 6 other people. So and of course, there's no cell reception out there, no 911. And so some of the people stayed with her. The others, we watched them as they hurried down, down, down the trail, trying to get reception, trying to get someone to help. But what if that woman had been there by herself and did whatever she did to her ankle, her leg? I mean, uh,
I actually have a friend in northern Arizona, who hikes up 12,000 foot peaks and stuff by herself. And I think about her. I see her on Facebook and where she's at, and I'm like, I'm surprised she's doing it without a partner to, you know,
think it's and also another thing that since we're kind of talking about stupid things not to do, is one day my hiking buddy and I had just come down off a mountain, and it was almost noontime, and we wanted to be down before it was blazing hot. It was summer, August, And so we are leaving the mountain because it's going to be too hot. And then walking towards us is a woman who's just starting off. She's a single woman walking by herself. And so we say to her, just to be friendly, she's coming off the parking lot. We're coming down from the mountain. And we say, so what's your goal today? Oh, she's on, I'm going to summit. And we went, really? This woman had on everyday walking shoes. She did not have a thermos of water. She did not have a sun hat. She looked like she was prepared to maybe take a little stroll on a sidewalk to get an ice cream cone rather than to summit this enormous mountain that we bailed on about halfway because we didn't want to keep doing it when the sun was blazing down.
Yeah.
And both of us thought that is one of the most stupid things. She didn't even have a sun hat on. We thought that is really stupid. So
When I lived in northern Arizona, a friend of mine was the doctor at the Grand Canyon for 10 years. He was a wilderness doctor. And the stories he'd tell about people unprepared for the Grand Canyon every day. And they go down that it's easy to go down the Bright Angel Trail going down, but coming back up is a whole nother story. And, they go down without any water, without the right equipment, without the right shoes. And there's signs everywhere that say bring water.
oh yeah, no, I mean absolutely. But
Yeah.
maybe this touches in a little bit with the title of my next book that's coming out
Yeah.
in spring.
Let's talk.
You'll never walk alone. And I love the title so much because when I was recovering from losing my left Achilles, and then I had all these other surgeries, I was never alone. First of all, there were doctors all around. Then there were friends who were
Right.
always bringing food. There was family. And I like this one stanza here so much. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams may be tossed and blown. I just love that. And it is a song that probably many of your listeners are familiar with. They play it. The first time I heard it was sung by 60,000 people attending a Liverpool soccer game.
Oh.
And boy, was that, it brought tears to my eyes.
So what took you to 50 different countries? Was it hiking or was it business or a little bit of both?
I am curious.
Okay.
If somebody mentions something, okay, here's one. In northern Argentina, the border of northern Argentina and Brazil is the longest, biggest waterfall in the world. The top of that waterfall is 1.5 miles across.
Wow.
And it's called Iguazu. I thought I have to see that. And so we went there. Luckily through my husband, I inherited 6 grandchildren, and we've taken them on adventures all over the world. And we took one of the kids with us to on this trip to see Iguazu. And we went there since we were staying in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of the park there. We got to go in and see this, extraordinary waterfall before the public came in. Then at 9 o'clock, these school buses came in, just dislodging, I mean, literally thousands of tourists. You couldn't even get near so you could see the waterfall anymore. All you could see were people holding up their phones, trying to take a picture of themselves with the waterfall behind them. And our little grandson at a certain point there just shook his head and he said, "It's not Iguazu." He said, "It's a zoo." And we just went back and took tango lessons, and my husband and Miles played chess, but we did not go back to that scene.
Yeah. So let's go back to your book, You'll Never Walk Alone. When's it going to be released?
It's coming out this spring, 2026, and I think it's almost getting ready for pre-orders now.
Can somebody find this book? Amazon?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it'll start at Amazon and then it should be everywhere.
Okay.
So,
And And the way you spell your name is J-O.
J-O, and then Giese.
Okay.
But although the book um, talks about my Achilles injury and what I did to overcome that, um, it, it's it's an inspirational story for anyone who has been given any grim diagnosis, no matter how grim it is, not to accept it, to say, okay, that's my diagnosis, but I'm not going to live that way. And what I did to overcome it and how I found people who were helpful.
Okay. So the name of the book is the whole title is You'll Never Walk Alone, Hiker's Memoir of Adventure, Tragedy, and Defying the Odds. So before we go, what's your top 5 item best advice to hikers?
That is really choose the weather. If the weather is if it's going to be stormy or rainy, best not to be out there. Choose your what you're wearing carefully. If you're in an area that recently on the East Coast, they've been having a lot of these ticks and everything that you can end up hospitalized with one of those bites. So that's not a day to be wearing shorts hiking. That's a day to be wearing long pants tucked into your boots. So if there are any bugs out there, and then choose your footwear carefully. I mean, the Oboe's footwear company, honored me last year as a local hero. But aside from that, they have real traction. And maybe you can get up the mountain without traction, or get up a trail. It doesn't even have to be a mountain. But coming down, you need traction, and it's easier on your knees too. And also be really respectful about sunscreen and sun lotion. There's a reason that's available, and use it. Water, and tell somebody where you've gone.
Yeah, so if you don't come back, they can go looking for you. Yeah. Well, Jo, I really appreciate you taking time, and we're going to be looking for your book when it comes out. And thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciated your insight. You have been listening to Minutes with Mango, Life in Motion. Subscribe to hear a new and unique guest each week as they comment on their life's journey and share experiences with lifestyle, culture, and career. You can always find us at minuteswithmango.com.